Liberal media pundits quickly claimed that Vice President Kamala Harris won Tuesday's debate. But it seemed undecided voters are not so sure. The New York Times reporting this. Voters said the vice president talked about a sweeping vision to fix the country's most stubborn problems, but they wanted the fine print. And it was not just the New York Times that found that the debate was not a slam dunk for Harris. Reuters interviewed 10 people who were still unsure how they were going to vote in the November 5th election before they watched the debate. 6, that's about 60%, said afterwards that they would now neither vote for Trump or they were leaning toward backing him. 3 said they would now back Harris, and 1 was still unsure how he would vote. Fox News Digital also spoke to voters to get their reaction.
I'm kind of torn between the both.
I love Trump. I'm going to vote for him. It didn't sway me.
Well, I thought it was a very good debate. I'm glad we had an opportunity to see the two of them go head to head.
I think that there were questions that were unanswered.
I think Trump's got the policies that are solid, and there's a lot of flash and dash maybe on the other side.
Kamala was really baiting Trump, and she spent the majority of the time doing that, not covering some of the issues. She kept stating that she was here for the people, but I didn't necessarily feel that.
I like both of them. I like Trump's policies because everything was a lot lower. When he was president for the first time, I thought if he acted more presidential, he would get his message over a lot better.
Another debate would like clear up things and just help the people.
So this is all interesting. I mean, Reuters, 60% of undecided voters now leaning toward Trump after that. Different than what you'd hear from Gemma Costa and the like. Tammy, I want to bring in the voice of a voter in the New York Times. Her name is Kayleigh Miller. She's a 34-year-old black woman. This was buried at the end of the New York Times piece, unsurprisingly so. Here's what she said. On Tuesday, she felt unexpectedly nudged toward Trump. Trump's pitch was a little more convincing than hers. Miss Miller said, I guess I'm leaning more on his facts than her vision. What a line. Miss Miller said that while her heart pulls for Harris's potentially history-making candidacy, she finds herself thinking fondly of her old life, quote, when Trump was in office. Not going to lie, I was living way better. I've never been so down as in the past 4 years. It has been so hard for me. I think a lot of people saw what Kayleigh saw.
Yes, and there were certainly Fox News was tracking with Lee Carter. We saw that independents were tracking with the GOP on all the issues versus the Democrats, right, when they were liking what Trump was saying. And I think that for a lot of the focus groups, what we heard was, especially women, expecting to hear the details from Kamala Harris. We've seen that Americans were saying we don't know what's going on. One focus group woman said, and was kind of angry, it's like, what is an opportunity economy? What is that? But they still don't know, because she didn't explain it. Oh. And I think that's what then reminds them. And that first question, and then maybe they thought it was a good idea to get it out of the way at the beginning of the debate, but it set the tone of the mindset when they said, what have you done to make lives better in the last 4 years of Americans? And she went off into this package statement that didn't touch that question. And I thought, oh, that's where it's going to go. And then there was no follow-up noting that. But I do think that, especially with CBS did another focus. And I think it was Major Garrett who spoke with 20 undecideds or independents. And he said to his panel that, none of them they were all for Trump, 100%. And there was a gasp on the panel. But see, platitudes don't put gas in your car. Platitudes don't put food on the plate. Platitudes don't make you safe in your neighborhood. Talking about economies and opportunities and smirking and being the mean girl doesn't help our lives.
Yes, that's right. You know, and Harris, there's this really big, huge chasm, and I saw it during my time at CNN in 2016, no less, where footnote, Trump went on to win that election, between the punditry in the Ivy Towers and what people are saying in the heartland. We saw it on your panel yesterday with independents and Republicans aligned.
Exactly.
Well, look, part of the reason why you see that with independents, they're looking for specificity. And if all you wanted to see was somebody go after Donald Trump, if that was your goal, then you loved it. It was just the right thing, and it was clear that that was her goal with her preparation because she kept doing it with Trump. He took the bait. Next time, he cannot take the bait. It's still going to come because she thinks it works for her. The problem with that is it makes it all about her. and what she rehearsed and what she wants to say about Trump and to look like the hero prosecutor who can go after. You know who it doesn't pay attention to? The voters. And that's what you saw with independence in what Lee Carter brought with her polling expert and analysis and all of that expertise and analysis. And you also heard it from our voters' voices. We had 2 Democrats. We always try to have a big mix, 2, 2, and 2 if we have 6 like yesterday. Sometimes the groups are bigger, but the percentages are always worked out so it's equal. That's our goal. And the reason why is this. Those independents are even more powerful to listen to because they're seated among everybody else. And sometimes we can get a little swayed. The independents decided that they were more like the Republicans on the panel, just like what she had showed us in her research and on those dials, those real lifetime dials during the debate.
So Jason Henderson, also, sorry, Jason, you were buried at the bottom of the New York Times. He was an undecided voter in Arizona. He was going to sit this election out. And on the issue of Trump temperament, for the pundits saying, oh, he was so angry, et cetera, et cetera. Well, here's what Jason had to say. Like Miss Miller, he came away from the debate leaning tenuously toward the Republican nominee. Mr. Henderson, who voted for Barack Obama, then for Trump, allowed that Mr. Trump came off as crazy, he said, but he was no different from his appearances at rallies and in interviews. And as he watched post-debate commentary on cable news, Mr. Henderson said he bristled at the pundits who widely panned Mr. Trump's performance. Had they watched the same debate, he wondered.
In a word, Trump keeps it real. I think that resonates with people. I see the experts on every network, and I'm toggling, and it's the same old dudes who go by the old playbook. It's a different playbook. It's not about who can memorize this and the gotcha moments. They love the passion. People love the passion because this is a country at the crossroads. People really can see and sense something is obviously wrong. And if you were to ask the average person out there, they're not going to give you the, hey, my best Harvard answer. And, you know, it's not central casting. It really isn't. Right. And this is how Trump has turned this whole thing upside down since he's entered the political arena. And still, the experts, the establishment, they don't get it. If they're judging it, ignore them because the people out there resonate with that passion, even when it feels or seems harsh to the experts.
Charles, that is such a good point. You know, they saw someone who was a fighter on that stage. I don't think you could deny Trump fought on the stage. Maybe they saw someone who's going to fight Xi. Yeah, someone who's going to fight Putin, someone who's going to fight for my grocery prices, Emily.
Yeah, I think to your point, well said, the American people are really sick of the gladiating in the middle of the arena where the odds are stacked against someone, where someone got shanked in the rib cage just before. They did not want to see a public execution, a public flogging. They wanted to see policy. And so the sheen and the polished veneer, as we've talked about before, that lasts just the first date. And the reality is that both of those individuals have not a vision at stake, they have experience, they have an actual lived incumbency, because try as she might to distance herself from Biden, it was indeed the Harris-Biden administration, as she made sure we knew for the last 4 years. So as Americans were watching that, they knew dang well what would happen under each as commander-in-chief. And yes, it looked a whole heck of a lot better under Donald Trump. Vote policy, not personality.
Yep, and it would have been nice if the ABC presidential debate would have given us more of that. It was more appropriately the DNC debate. More Outnumbered next.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kayleigh McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.